All right, we are back. I am back. I don't know if you are. And I can see at least my, there was, ooh, whoa, whoa. Hey, check. I don't know if you're there. Like all you can see is black. Yeah, basically all I can see, well, all I was able to see was black. And I don't know how this happens, but sometimes on my tablet, suddenly everything gets like very, very small. And then I have to select the app that I was working on. And today I was just tapping on something else and everything went away. But apparently it was still running on the background. So, okay, let's try to hop in where we are, where we were. All right. And I also had to reconnect my Bluetooth keyboard, which happens like every time I have to restart my computer. And it's a real pain. Okay, so what I wanted to do was to get a anticipation before he gets the news that his hot cocoa is ready. So once he exhaled, and before he twists his head, I want him to shoot up again because he's listening like, what? Hot cocoa? What? And then turns around, all right? So here he exhales. He's going down a little bit to start his overshoot. And here's the one thing I really find awesome in KRITA, the zoom in, zoom out possibilities when they work. Now they're apparently not working at that moment. So I push space, right click on the mouse, dragging around, which supposedly is a zoom. Not working, which is unfortunate. What you gonna do? Okay, Jack says he doesn't have, he hasn't found a solution for the copy paste problem that Elena and we all face. So no quick solution here in this stream unless there is somebody else watching and wants to get his or her opinion on the topic. We basically are looking for a solution where we can select only a part of a drawing and copy that specific part in an already existing keyframe without having to paste it in a separate layer. And we couldn't find out how to do that. Another thing, well, it doesn't work, the zoom, unfortunately. But anyways, although I zoom out the most I can, there is still, is this actually the zoom thing? Looks like we can, okay. Once the timeline gets too long, there's no way to actually get a zoom out that gives me an overview. Oh, Elena is still here. Well, you're welcome, I suppose. He could couldn't figure it out, but I hope we're gonna get there. So yeah, the problem is once the timeline gets too long, there's only a certain amount how far you can zoom out. So it's not like on After Effects, for example, where it doesn't actually matter how long your timeline is. The let's say the highest zoom out level always gets you your complete timeline range, and I feel that was the same problem in Animate. That I don't have this option here in KRITA. I only have a certain amount how far I can get out, which sometimes it's a little bit tricky. If you have long scenes, you have to you have to scroll down, and as I don't know if you can mark certain points here in the timeline to mark them visually and find them easily. But for now, I just have to scroll through and look for the part where I actually want to jump in. Okay, Jack says he has a weird workaround. All right, workarounds. Copy the selection to new layer, moving that keyframe to the desired location and then merging the layers. That could work. So we don't lose the information in the actual already existing keyframe where we only want to add the selected content. That could work. Elena, maybe you tried that already. If not, maybe that's a solution for the weekend until we hopefully get an answer to the problem on Monday. We will see. All right. I'll try to animate now. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna add a new keyframe. There's some weirdness going on today. I feel like my computer's already on weekend mode. Okay, my hotkeys shortcuts don't work as I have the new blank keyframe on the F7 as it is also an animate. I have to tell my keyboard again that I had to reconnect via Bluetooth to my computer as this Logitech keyboard demands all the time and didn't keep the information that I want my hotkey on, or that I want to activate the F7 keys and not have to push the function key to really get the F7. Anybody understood what I actually was saying? Okay. So now we want him to shoot up. And then this drawing is we will see. Okay, I want him to, let's get down the opacity. I'm gonna work only with very simplified shapes here to first get my timing right. And I'm actually not really sure how his expression is when he jumps back from exhaling the smoke, hearing that his hot cocoa is ready. So he's totally relaxed, exhaling, listening to, and then he goes like. So I think his eyes are getting up, and his mouth is kind of ooh. Ooh. Let's try this. Okay, let's do it. Ooh. that could, I'm wondering how O would look different from the expression of exhaling. O is more like getting downwards, like this is more getting up, I feel. It's pretty cool to be streaming live. As I see on the broadcast software, I can see my face, so I can actually act out the things, watching how it's gonna look. So this is getting up, and oh, we'll be going more. Not really. That's also a thing why I always feel like I have to get in the things that come out of the channel, as streaming is kind of I still have to learn how to handle the pressure, as so many things go wrong. Okay, like this seems good. And like the O would stretch out the face as well. Okay. Okay. I by accident didn't draw on top of the keyframe, so he created a new one. Let's time this out. Get in a few frames. Like when he's getting excited, he still feel like we need a few more. Oh. Okay. And then here, oh boy. I'm gonna start KRITA again because I really want this zoom option in the timeline here, and something is not really going well. In the meantime, well, it's already there. Also wanted to show you with the animation, with the hand animation in the beginning, I had a really hard time. I don't know why, but I thought I could just draw whatever I had in mind with the movement of the hands. But as we learned in the streaming sessions for the kickflip, like reference material can be just a lifesaver and should actually be some kind of a normal, should be a normal process. So here is what I recall. I recorded that material and just went through different poses of my hand, which I used as reference for the animation that you see here. And I'm quite positive that we're gonna need this footage again once I draw in betweens here, because there may be some poses of the hand that I want to look up in the reference material. So let's see if now it's working again. So look at that. This is like the most I can get with the zoom out. So I'm not able to see the whole timeline here, but it is what it is. So now I want to, and it's not working. That's very frustrating. Does anybody know anybody knows another way to zoom in timeline? Or anybody knows why it's not working? Do I is there anything I'm doing wrong? A timeless solution, says Jax. Yeah. I think when it comes to animation, you definitely have to consider reference material. I think it's crucial. I know back when I studied, there was the animation department where I wasn't really into back when I started motion graphics. And before their productions, they actually hired actors to play out the scenes and filmed them to have. I never understood it back then, but now it's so clear why they do this. And it was a big misconception of from my part, thinking that whatever you animate, you just animate from out of your memory, out of your head. But the more I got into frame by frame animation, reading about the professionals and seeing breakdowns of animation, seeing reference material they recorded on their own, and reading how much fun they had back then in Disney or Warner Bros. Acting out stuff, really made me understand that this is a fixed part of the animation process. So always good to have look for reference material, shoot your own reference material, and then as we did in the kickflip animation series, just get the poses you think are the most important for you in order to get your whole movement captured. And then from there on, you can get a little bit looser and do in your breakdown poses and your in-betweens, maybe without the reference material. There's a tiny button at the top that looks like two arrows pointing right. I know, Jack, that's that one, right? But I feel when I push that, it doesn't work, and it would work if the other function of the zoom also works with the space and right click, but it's not working. Above the left box area that shows the layer. I suppose you mean that one here? Well, yeah, there's some bug going on. Like I also am not able to drag. Oh, I'm not able to drag this keyframe to the right. So yeah, KRITA, there are a bunch of things that seem to still be an issue. Another issue, I just activated the onion skin, but I don't see any onion skin at all, so I have to get in here. So what I want to do, I want to create an overshoot where I push those shapes even further, and I'm getting too much opacity here out of my Didn't I just start drawing some shapes? Now they're gone. Maybe KRITA only has long weekends and is only working from Monday to Thursday. What a bad joke. Okay, push it even further. And I think with only that simple shapes, I can already get an idea of the timing, which is not working for me yet. I want to see, like, I don't have too much space to draw in betweens from this pose to that pose, but the poses are standing quite some time. Let's get in just a quick in between. To smoothen out the movement and see if the timing works out. Okay, so this is the overshoot that I want to create. Once he hears that his hot cocoa is ready. What I now like about the animation is something that I read, is the importance of mixing different paces of animation in one shot. So I feel at the beginning we have very slow kind of animation and we have a very quick one, and then the turnaround where he's getting excited is compared to the like listening up is like in the middle of the very slow paced animation and the shooting up because he's not just listening. So I think that's something that works quite all right. let's get in some of the body shape. I think this go. Okay. I want to see one frame or 2 frames back to get the reference here. Okay, now I start to relax a little bit. The initial of this streaming was a little bit difficult due to whatever Windows did the software images, software Windows. Okay, just getting in some in-betweens. I think that's working. Precious sparkling water. Here in Spain, as it's not that common, you have to go to certain supermarkets to get the right sparkling water. And if you're not originally from Germany, as I am, you may not understand the importance of sparkling water. But in Germany, it's quite common to, at least what I know, it was always sparkling water. And then when I came to Spain, and everybody's just drinking like still water, because you cannot drink the tap water. It's horrible. Although they say it's absolutely fine to drink, I'm wondering how they explain the very, very strong flavor of, I don't know how you call it, chlor? I don't know. Okay, check. Moved to Germany and didn't like sparkling water before, and now I understand out of your message, now you're an absolute fan of sparkling water. I suppose if I was able to drink the tap water here in Spain, I would drink the tap water, but as I already have to go and buy water, I get the sparkling water. And when it's getting really hot, sparkling water with lemon or orange juice is just the ultimate summer drink. And but then you also have like I don't know, here I only get one kind of sparkling water, and it's It's what I supposedly is what in Germany would be like the active sparkling water. Like you have active. Elena is can't live without sparkling water. Total addicted. Where are you located, Elena? So we can get some quick studies on where people tend to consume sparkling water. Yeah, so you have this active sparkling water, which is I can't drink it because it's so strong. Feels like I don't know. It's definitely not the thing you want to offer in business meetings where they actually put it. I think in there's also still water, but once you drink this active water, man, you don't know where to get. You have to barb like crazy. Okay, Elena lives in Budapest, but she's originally from Estonia. And so we know Estonia also likes the sparkling water. Well, at least Elena's. So you're the first Estonian person I know, and here we go with the stereotypes. Estonian people like sparkling water. In Estonia is also a salty version of the sparkling water with lots of minerals. Here as well. They have, here in Barcelona, they have the Vichy, which is Catalan sparkling water, I suppose. And it's salty. And it's, I didn't know that, but it took me some time to actually put my like to point out what is that weird flavor in the water, and like it's salt. Pretty weird. Jack says salty sparkling water. That sounds awful. Yeah, I don't like it either, but I suppose there's people that likes salty. Like whenever you find yourself in a shipwreck, well, they definitely have advantage if you're used to drinking salt water. Yeah, but I suppose there's only two kind of people in this world: those who drink sparkling water and those who don't. And another great use of there's only two kind of men in this world. Okay, Elena says salty water is excellent with lime juice. Estonians are all addicted to sparkling water. It's a correct stereotype. That we learned something today. Okay, I'm getting a little bit confused here with the in skins. So this one has to be a little bit higher. The ear's way too high. I also wanted to point out one thing that I just learned recently, and I think I mentioned it already in previous streams. What I'm doing here, just toggling between very quickly between the drawings. I didn't do that very often. I used to work with the onion skin, but I feel like toggling between those images made my animation so much better, because you get a way better feeling of how everything is moving. Okay. Still feel weird about the mouth here. Mm-hmm. And a little bit higher here. So Elena, have you been working a lot with KRITA? Do you have a lot of experience, or are you also fairly new to the software? Because we started to use it here on the stream like not too long ago, and since then I'm pretty much a fan of the software. Although, like after the very first effect, and I'm still really like the software, but those little bugs that prevent you from really working fluently are bugging me. But still think it's like the best option out there when you start and you don't have any subscription. You literally started 3 days ago. That's perfect. That's perfect. But do you started in general the do you use it mainly for drawings, or well, if you want to paste one selection from a frame to another, I suppose you animate. I think you also said so in the Facebook group. Are you completely new to frame by frame animation, or is it just that you started to use the software? See. I like that. I like that snappy movement when he comes up. Would be awesome to also animate some smoke when he's exhaling. In general, it would be great to have some smoke on the pipe. And I started to do smoke animations, but here I see the complication, like as it moves the pipe a lot, like the smoke has to move along and all that stuff. Quite difficult, I think. Okay. So now we are getting this other problem with KRITA that I cannot pause. Yeah, I paused it. Okay. Okay, now the mustache is dragging behind. And here we need the previous image in our onion skin. We are at our highest point, and here we are already getting lower. And now he's see how this works. Okay, you're completely new. Great. So I hope so. Any question about animation or whatsoever? Like, I don't know if I explained it before. I really like the idea of this whole project here with the streaming to create some kind of a form where we can learn together those things. And I just felt like I'm now at a point where there's still so much to learn when it comes to animation, but the knowledge I gathered during the last 4 years, like learning on my own frame by frame animation, I think I could already start to give back. So if there are any questions, I would be more than happy to help you out with my experience without saying that this is the right way. This is just the way I learned so far to do it. Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's see. Getting so just to explain a little bit, as the head moves down, I want the mustache to move up a little bit to get a kind of bouncy effect. Now I think I first have to define this drawing a little bit better. So this looks so I redo this drawing as I feel like the mustache I put in there was completely out of position, as I was looking too much, referring too much on previous drawings. And I think I first want to get this pose right. drawing in the mustache correctly, and then looking into how we get from point A to point B, which will be this drawing. Okay, let's see. I want to get quite a big brush here. Get a little bit rid of the mouth we did so far. Now let's see what we actually want to don't want to see any onion skin. This is not really giving me the ooh that I want. How did you start animation, and did you study it somewhere or you learned by yourself? Well, I studied motion graphics, so some animation related stuff, yeah. Back then it was only, it was really more like concept and design oriented. No rules about the software whatsoever. So I had quite some knowledge about movement when I got interested in frame by frame animation. And there are a lot of principles for animation that you may also know from motion graphics. Like there you can apply animation principles as well. I never did it, as I never learned those principles like overshoot and all the arcs and all that stuff. That was not really part of my study, so that was completely new to me and definitely helped me to develop better animation skills. But I started 4 years ago when I figured that Photoshop had the timeline option. And in the motion design industry, frame by frame character animation got really popular, and you saw it quite often, and I felt really drawn towards to it. And during the time, I figured that was actually why I got into motion graphics, because back as a kid, cartoons like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Masters of the Universe and all that era definitely influenced me a lot. And it always seemed too weird to actually do frame by frame animation. It seemed like completely out of range, as I felt this is some kind of magic trick that it is so way too late to get into that. But then I started it off, and here we are 4 years later, and I'm pretty happy where it's all where I'm at now. So tips for beginners is it really depends. Like I feel like I've always been very influenced by, as I said, like the cartoons from the 90s, but as well Disney was like a huge thing for me, and I felt always like this is Champions League of animation. So I feel like I'm still having this kind of, this is the ultimate goal, but it shouldn't be, because there's so much different animation styles nowadays, especially like in the more commercial realm, if you want to say so. And that's definitely why you shouldn't call yourself an animator only when you understood and can apply all the animation principles and draw Disney-like characters and animations. So I don't know, tips. For me, it was very helpful to draw a lot. To draw, because after all, it's drawing. It's just much more drawing than just illustrating. And a very, very good book, if you haven't heard about it, it's the Animator Survival Kit by Richard Williams. That book definitely opened a complete new understanding for animation and made it helped me because it felt like there is a recipe here that I can apply. So I highly recommend that book. And I got into that book because so many animators I reached out to or already knew said that this is the go-to Bible for every animator. I never read the Disney book where it's like the art of movement or something like that. I don't know why. I should probably as well have a look at that. But with the Animator Survival Kit, I'm still studying it. Like just for this purpose of the of the stream, I got through it and was looking for maybe some helpful advice. And there's also a section for flexibility in the face, where there's actually a two drawing example of somebody smoking, which helped me to see at least those two important poses. And yeah, it's definitely a tool that I've always have next to me. It's this book here. So I highly recommend that. And then it really depends what you like to animate. For me, it was really easy to start with the coming from the keyframe based animation. So I already knew some stuff about easing in and easing out of movements, but that were just like right click easy in and easy out. When you do hand drawn animation, there's definitely a little bit more to it than just a right click. Okay, that makes a pretty good. Oh. Also very handy here with the shift. You can on the fly change your diameter of tool you're using. Really, really helpful. I never found that function in Photoshop for the PC. On the Mac, it's pretty easy, so you can change diameter and softness of your brush. But on the PC, I've never found it. Let's see. Yeah, I think that works for me. Yeah, and as I said before, I'm still way far away where I'd like to be. For instance, that topic with the hands, there's still improvement. This is just, we started with the head we see some kind of body, but I assure you, if we painted in the whole body, I struggle quite a lot with proportions, anatomy. But there's as well, like we did the tentacle boy before. There's no need for anatomy. But even then, I feel like the more I learn about anatomy, it helps me even with those really stylized characters. In this one, you actually have quite some knowledge from the anatomy, or not quite some. I don't draw in like details of muscles or whatsoever, but for example, only those two lines, knowing where they come from, it helps a lot of drawing. And in general, knowing that stuff is definitely worth your time, like putting in some effort into this stuff. And don't get your whole anatomy. Like, I don't go in and first want to learn all the anatomy of the whole human body. Just try to concentrate maybe on small parts and try an animation of hands. Or, well, hands are very difficult, at least for me, so probably not start off with the hands. And walk cycles are definitely a very, very good exercise to study, as once you understand the details of those walk cycles, you can quite easily start to get on with improvisation like we do here. We don't have music. I'm just realizing, like, where's our soothing lo-fi background music? There we go. Right. Yeah, okay. Elena says she likes surfing in my mind and weird stuff comes out. Absolutely. I think that's the most what I love frame by frame animation, because there's only the restriction, all the filter of what you imagine and what you are capable of bringing to the paper. And at the beginning, it sucks. Like, whatever you have in mind is probably not what comes to paper. But the more and more you practice, the more and more, the closer you get to the image that you actually have in your head. And I lately feel like I reached a point where I feel very very comfortable with what I can get to the paper compared to what is in my head. Sometimes, well, whatever comes to paper change what's in my head, so it's a more or less a dialogue. But yeah, that's definitely a cool thing. The very first animation I did in Photoshop was just straight ahead, was just abstract shapes and stuff that was popping up and whatever, just practice a little bit and see how this is actually gonna look like, because you draw and you draw and you draw, but then you have this magic moment where you hit the button, the play button, and then suddenly it starts to move. And that's something that I'm really getting exciting with as well with the cleanup process. Sometimes you have those very long cleanup processes and you have several of them, as you have all kind of details in your character or in your design. So you have to first do the fill color, then you put in the shadows, then you put in the highlights. And I love every time I finish the whole animation, just put the fill in color. And I try not to hit the play button before I'm done with that specific step. Hitting the play button and then you see that the first time with color your animation, it's always like this magic moment. And then you put in the shadows, you draw all over a bit until you finish, and then you put the play button, and then you get the first time this animation with color and shadow, and so on until you finally reach that animation that you wanted to do. And I'm totally blown away by that. And that's the man. I think that's such a magical thing in within the frame-by-frame animation. On general animation, it's a pretty weird thing. Let's see if our zoom is working. It's not working, and I try to... Oh, damn you. Okay, here we are kind of off. Oh, I'm doing things here I don't want to do. I was trying to move the selection, but apparently with the moving of the selection I created way too much keyframes, so I'm not really sure how I'm... Okay, now I can move this. Hey, sorry if I don't pronounce it right. Saim Saki, how do you determine your stroke type, or you already have your favorite stroke? That's a very good question. And it's always like this big. No, normally I start off with an illustration of character. Here we actually do first the animation before we actually know how it's gonna look like. But I have to say I'm very basic with my strokes. I like only like the bold in my final render. I normally use like bold, pressure sensitive black strokes. That's more or less what I like, because I pretty much enjoy drawing with ink on paper, and that's somehow what I get from digital drawing, that is kind of close to the ink. And I do that because I feel drawing on the tablet is never feels like on paper, but doing like an ink aesthetic feels quite similar, because an ink pen really smooth on top of the paper, at least what I use, and it feels similar when drawing on a tablet. That's why I like that. But for this kind of stuff, I really like the pencil style, and I think I always try to emulate more or less what it would be doing this actually on paper. That's why I also always try to erase slightly stuff instead of creating a new layer on top of it and bit by bit getting into the details. I hope that helped. But it really depends on the project. Like client work not necessarily gives you the liberty to use your always go-to stroke, because the project or whatever the product or the client demands to use other aesthetics. But I always feel it's very... Sometimes I feel when I finish an animation, I would like to do 4 cleanups of that animation, because I like the animation. I think it would look cool with that kind of stroke or with that kind of render or whatever. So, but normally I do kind of a style frame before the illustration and determine there the way it's gonna look like afterwards, to not get lost. Because when you figure out your style of the animation when the animation is done, I think it's very easy to fall into a loophole where you start cleaning up And then you realized after a while, ah, that's not really what I was looking for style-wise, so you want to redo it and redo it again. And so it's pretty good to, or at least with your first drawing, make sure you already define your style for the rest, or the render technique, yeah, the style that you want to use for the rest of the drawing. And sometimes it also really depends on where I do my cleanup, because I try to clean up normally in Animate, although I don't like the program that much, but it's the most flexible one when it comes to stroke style as well, because sometimes clients want to change stroke width, and if you draw in Photoshop or here in KRITA, you have a problem, because pixel-based stuff is not that flexible afterwards. But we also want to figure out how to draw on vector paths here in KRITA, as this seems to be an option. We haven't found the right tools yet, because pressure sensitivity didn't really work on the only tool that I figured would work, which was the freehand path tool. But the freehand path tool gives you the option to change your stroke width afterwards. And when I draw on the iPad, I feel there are a few brushes that I feel most comfortable to use, as I think for me the important is the aesthetic and the experience drawing it, and that really depends on the surface. Like here on the Cintiq you have a little bit more texture, so it feels more like paper, but on the iPad, at least I don't have those paper protections that are supposed to emulate paper texture. So it's very, very smooth. And there are several strokes or brushes that I actually like with this smoothness of the screen. And that happens as well when drawing on paper. Like every kind of paper has its own feeling or its own aesthetic for me. And as well, all kinds of pens for me create different kinds of aesthetics. As you basically draw differently with different tools. And there it's basically just drawing out, and as I told before, I'm not able to enter any art supply shop without buying at least a new pen I haven't used before. And I consider it as quite a cheap hobby, as those pens are normally, I'm not the one who buys like 50 euro pens. I try to keep them under 2 euros. So it's alright when I get in there knowing I'm gonna get a new pen for 2 euros. Maluklar, hi, how are you doing? Nice to see you here in the chat. Thanks for joining. Elena is asking what kind of drawing tablet I use. I use a Cintiq 16 inch. And I enjoy that pretty much. because it feels more natural than the iPad for me. Because of the surface. But when you use the right tools on the iPad, like Procreate is awesome. And I think if you would use Procreate on a Cintiq, it wouldn't be the same experience as on an iPad. But actually, when I started off with frame-by-frame animation, I had like a Intuos. Here I feel you have to put in more volume or not. Yeah, so the Intuos is a tablet that is not, I think they call pen tablets, and not, I don't know if there's, I think on Wacom you have those monitor tablets, which basically means you draw on your screen, like on the Cintiq. And then you have those pen tablets, which are basically just a tablet while you watch, you draw down there, but you watch your screen. Which was already a pretty huge game changer. But when I got my Cintiq, I felt like people say the tools don't matter, but really I felt a huge improvement when I changed to the monitor tablet. It felt so much more organic. But again, don't encourage just because you don't have a monitor tablet or so. So let's get, this mustache is not working. So you see here, I try to erase what I drew, but I still can see it. So it still is like a reference to what I don't want to draw, if that makes sense. If I just erase it, everything, I may come up with the same mistake again. So this is more or less the approach as drawing on real paper, where you can erase stuff, but you still see what you have drawn before. Are you tied with any studio now? If yes, how did you manage your time with your permanent job and your personal projects? How did you keep your creative momentum? I'm freelancing now for over 3 years. Before I was working full-time. And I switched to freelancing. I wanted to do that for quite some time. Had a lot of friends from studies that jumped directly into freelancing after studies. I didn't do that. I basically took a long break from animation. And then when I came back, I started at a company and really learned processes, deadlines, all that stuff, which was really important. And I read a lot that people don't recommend after studies or whatsoever, jumping directly into freelance and going into a company, working in-house just to learn the process and all that stuff. And I still feel like it would even be beneficial for a freelancer going every 3 years into like full-time into an agency, a studio, whatsoever, because structures change a lot, I feel, nowadays, and that would be a great way to freshen up like how agencies that you as a freelancer work for, after all, that you get an idea of the culture that is still evolving all the time. But now I'm working from home as a freelancer, and I prepared my switching to freelancing during my full-time job. So I started working on a show reel, working on my homepage, getting everything in a line, working on a logo, all that stuff to have everything ready. And then I started like contacting studios and doing acquisition of clients. And once I got the first big project, I figured, okay, with this project, I have a certain runtime that I can work as a freelancer, and then after that time I have to come up with a new project. So I did the step going freelancing with this small buffer of the first project. So I quit my job, did the big project, and was able to continuously get new projects. So it's a very scary step, especially also when you know, okay, this is probably this project gonna help me out during 3 months, or as well. Like I had some kind of I call like a savings. So you definitely need a little bit of a runtime covered. And yeah, then I jumped right in, and once you're in there and you have to get new projects, somehow you get new projects. Because then you have to reach out to a lot of people, and maybe it's not, sometimes it's hard because you get a lot of rejections or not even answers or whatsoever. But there's a very, very great book from Jory Corriman. He's the founder of School of Motion, and he has the Freelance Manifesto, and that was basically my recipe for getting freelance. This was the last step I needed to really get out there, and it gave me the last courage I needed to go freelance. And ever since, like, the creative momentum is high as a kite, I suppose, because that's a cool thing about freelancing. When you have the downtime, you can work on your own stuff, which actually attracts new clients, hopefully. And actually, and you can reorientate yourself. Like when I started with as a freelancer, I was mostly doing motion design jobs, as this was what I felt most comfortable with. I was able to calculate timings and all that stuff to make sure I can deliver on time. But at the same time, I spend as much time as possible improving my frame by frame skills. And then bit by bit, I try to sneak in small elements of frame by frame animation. And bit by bit, getting more jobs for frame by frame animation. So the creative momentum, I feel, is the easiest way as a freelancer, as you can always shift towards what you actually are interested in compared to a full-time job. You're basically tied to whatever this agency, studio, whatever is dedicated to. So yeah, maybe that helps. Sorry, sometimes I have to, I'm not able to animate and talk. I think that's also the reason why I have to overdo the things that we do in the stream afterwards in prepare new stuff for the new stream, because while talking, the animation may suck a little bit. Let's see. So I was wondering if I am able to mark this frame. Oh yeah, that looks, oh nice. Okay, now I know that this is my extreme pose. For those of you who don't know KRITA like I do, like not knowing as I don't know KRITA, I just figured out how to color a important keyframe in my timeline. And this one is like the lowest. So I think to make it a little bit more easy, we're gonna see how we tackle the mustache and create some secondary animation afterwards. Now I probably want to just put in a simple in between the two poses to make sure everything else is working. So this is not really in between. This is this one line we want to see. And here is the other one. Oh, yeah. I was not really seeing the frames that I wanted to see in my onion skin. That's why I got a little bit off. So now I'm just drawing in between those two poses. All right. Here by accident somehow, I get an idea for the mouth. Like I like how he starts to do like the ooh. And maybe I can actually bring this a little bit further. I now want to try to keep everything the same in this drawing, but just animate this part of the face. Not really sure if this was gonna look organic, but I like the idea. Like we see still his mouth like going into the ooh shape. Like you have, although he's in position, the mouth continues to move forward. Like ooh. So maybe the beard on the top is still in the same position, but it stretches out a little bit. So we have a little stretch here. That goes a little bit further down. It's this whole, like the jaw is basically affected by this movement. So yeah, you see, ooh, ooh. It's very subtle, but I like it. But I think it looks too similar to the mouth when he blows out the steam. Kiko Loves 2. A great name, Kiko Loves 2. Like it. Have you always worked with KRITA? No, I haven't. Like, thanks, Check, for answering that. And sorry, Kiko Loves, for not having responded quickly. We started like last week with KRITA. But when you come from other animation softwares, actually to get started was not difficult at all. Like the opposite, basically. As we did Photoshop before, and Photoshop is only adapted. I don't know how far you're into frame by frame animation, but I felt directly from the start on KRITA is giving me so much more options than Photoshop, so it was easy to decide to continue with KRITA. Do you work with KRITA? Do you know your way around? As we are always happy to have people in the chat that may help us out with some issues we stumble upon during the process. Okay. Like now let's analyze again. Like we have the smoking out and the ooh. Like the mouth seems the same if I do it. And ooh. You do Adobe Animate, all right. So all you YouTubers, we get activities down in at the Twitch chat. Pickolovs is in here, and he's using Adobe Animate. Did you start directly for frame by frame animation directly in Animate, or did you come from another software and try to adapt to Animate? Because I had a very hard time to and still have, like, Animate is, I feel there's so many things that you have to work around without having actually a solution. I really much like the way how you can get your Animate stuff into After Effects. That is pretty cool, and always has been like a very strong aspect of the whole Creative Cloud tools. But when it was okay, you worked with it when it was called Macromedia Flash. That's, when was that? That was like 2000. When did Adobe buy Flash? It was some kind of 2000. I think 2005, 2006, around that time. And I remember like friends of mine who were very into Flash, like programming the hell out of it. And they were so convinced that Flash is never gonna go away, and now it's basically an animation tool and not really used for any other stuff. Okay, Kigalov says you should learn patience first before starting frame animation. Yeah. Well, maybe you have to just start with easy stuff, And I think you can definitely get some pretty cool results and satisfying moments that keeps you going. Like that's the thing. If you put your goals too high and look what's out there and whatever, and you compare that with your stuff, it's definitely like frustrating as hell. And like I think that's how how it works, right? So I really recommend like just I felt really amazed just animating a bouncing ball cube going bigger, smaller, and then you can do like I think the first time that I saw frame by frame animation outside of a Disney or feature animation movie was some really psychedelic shit, and I felt holy moly, how I wouldn't be able to do that in After Effects. How did they do that? And then ever since I feel like, okay, this is frame by frame animation, and there you can get anything you have in your head, you can get there. You just have to develop the skill, the drawing skill. When you say Flash, you're showing your age, definitely. And I'm wondering if Adobe gonna put more effort into the software of Flash, because now they started to improve like the way the programs work together. As I said, like getting your Flash or animate stuff into After Effects, but there's so much things that are still very organic or not very intuitive inside the program, I feel. Okay. So now I want to try to fix the pupils here. He's, as I said before, it feels too cartoony. As at that point of the scene, I want him to be that respected man, like this very this authority. And I felt like from the off sound, he's watching the news about the stock market or whatever, until he hears from the kitchen someone screaming like, "Honey, your hot cocoa is ready," and then he's getting really psyched. Hot cocoa. Also very open for suggestions what that scene could be all about. Like, I'd love to think about possibilities in sound, because that's, for me, at least 50% of your animation is sound. I want to cave and do like that puppet kind of animation where you attach points of movements, but I hate the way that kind of animation looks. I started off with this kind of, oh man, that would be a very, very great way of showing you my first walk cycle. Now let's do this. Where is it? So there's so much stuff that I unfortunately didn't save. I'm not sure if I still have it here. But it's pretty interesting when you go through your old material and then just seeing what like your development. Let's see. I think I still have it on my Vimeo page. And I did that with the puppet tool. Okay, check this out. So it is so bad, like compared with what we did before in the stream. Our very beginning, we did a walk cycle. I'm gonna put that afterwards. But that has been done with the puppet tool, and I assure you, this is not the best way you can that you can use your puppet tool. But it's not that flexible. That's the thing that that bugged me about the rubber hose animation stuff. Jack says, "Oh my god, I love it. It's great." Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's great to see actually the learning curve. And back then, I remember when I finished that project, that was actually working in-house, and I was so psyched about, wow, I did a walk cycle, man, and yeah. Okay, let's see. Now we're gonna compare it for a moment. The walk cycle. So this is more or less like 4 years later. No, it's not actually 4 years. Well, I think I didn't even start 4 years before. I think it's already 5 years since I'm doing frame by frame animation. Yeah, see, the further we go into that stream, the more I reveal the real truth. I've been working in frame by frame animation for over 10 years. No, I'm kidding. So yeah, but even then, like, Kikalov, thanks. I also really like the tentacle boy. It kind of started off as a mascot for the stream. But what I wanted to say, study your walk cycles, and those poses, they help you. It doesn't matter if you do 3D animation, if you do hand-drawn animation or puppet tool animation. Those actually really, those poses work for all kind of techniques. So and where were we? Well, I suppose the most important thing when you learn this kind of stuff is really actually hitting, like, setting goals realistically, that and getting animations that you enjoy. And I find myself a lot of times doing like a very basic stuff, and then I finish the basic stuff and I think, oh, I could add this one. So I'm not going to switch to a new project. I add new elements or tweak some stuff and build on top of that. That's what happened here, because when we started off with the animation from the last stream, we only had this animation, which was fine. This was basically what we wanted to do. But then I saw it and I thought, oh, I see so many different stuff that could be done here, so why not try to push it a little further? And you can do this on every level of skill, I suppose, like just doing a bouncing ball. Put some eyes on that bouncing ball, put some hands on that bouncing ball, and then bit by bit continuing working it out. Yeah, doing smaller projects, especially for this kind of animation, is crucial at the beginning. If you want to start off with a 5-minute short film, like, you probably gonna get frustrated very easily, and it's so time consuming that I would also stick with the shorter formats. I don't want to save. Oh, now look, we have two. Which one is the right one? Okay, this one we don't want to. Nope. This one is our good one. Okay. So now I have the pupils. I kind of like it with the pupils down there. With the pupils up here, it seemed like he's smoking some kind of stuff. And now I like here the pupils are still visible, and then when he exhales they go up, which I like that, so we don't have this twice the same thing here. I just came up with a new idea. I feel it could be interesting if he gets... Now we just go with the hot cocoa, unless anybody has another idea. And so here he hears like, honey, your hot cocoa is ready or whatsoever, and then he goes like, he's so let me think for a second. Like I could imagine like he goes like, ooh, and then he gets excited. That could be cool. My third animation took around 2 years to do because it was too much, and it's only like 3 minutes long. Holy shoot. That's also the problem. Like I'm pretty sure like you learned a hell during that 2 years doing that 3-minute animation, and how could you how do you contain like a consistent style? Because I suppose when you started you weren't that good as continually working on it for 2 years. There's definitely an improvement visible, right? So, and I can imagine like once you finished the project and you saw how you started off, you wanted to like overdo whatever you did 2 years before, as it doesn't look that good like the last stuff you did. And I also feel for animation, like this kind of aesthetic we have right now is basically what's more than sufficient to practice movements and stuff. And then we haven't started with the cleanup process, which is also such a time-consuming process. I totally get it. Once you're done the draft and it looks cool, you want to see it finished, obviously. But you could also directly jump into the next animation. So now I want to save this before I do any weird changes here. So let's see. I feel as it is stretched out. Could be also cool, like now the head is completely stretched out, and instead of going down and compress, maybe his jaw is coming up and his head is coming down, so it's stretched up and then it's meeting in the middle again. So try to do it very quickly to get a sense of if the idea is working. So and what I want to do right now, when he has the moment of ooh, I want him to get this eyes down, like ooh. I must admit, I wasn't working on it for the entire 2 years. In the middle, I moved and didn't have access to my computer, but I also lost interest and motivation to work on it. Definitely, I can feel you there. Like I have such a huge respect for people that do like documentaries, you know, feature films where the production takes like years and years. I'm not able to do that. Like that's why I really like or I started with the motion graphics industry, where you basically have your projects done in a few weeks, maybe a few months, but not years. But yeah, I feel so much respect for people that are able to pull that off. Okay, I think the pupils need to come down. It's like this Homer Simpson moment, this go. And I think I want that even a little bit slower. What happened there? I think we are already stretching it out too much. Now this is very quick and dirty. Ah, damn it. Okay. It's not there where I want it to be, but I like the fact that it's close to what I just had in mind. I'm not sure if it works with this. So it goes like, ooh. Oh. Any opinions there from you guys? Would you suggest any? It now feels a little bit as he exhales as well. Yeah, it's quite repetitive as he exhales the smoke, goes up, and then he does the same thing again. Maybe we can do, instead of getting the, he's getting excited like, and then he starts like, and he starts like, his how to call it, just coming some saliva. All right, Jack says maybe in that bit where he sinks down, his eyes look over to the right where the source of excitement is coming from. I like that. Let's try that. You mean exactly this part where he actually goes, ooh. Yeah, he make it, ooh. So I save and I do another save as, because I don't risk any problem here with the something like and, oh, I feel the eyes are very small. If you compare it with this, oh wow, we went very small with the eyes. Because they're so stretched out here, I forgot when they go back and here they're stretched. And here they should already come back to another. And I want to bring up my reference. That's the next image. So yeah, we want to keep it a little bit wider. And he's looking over there. it is looking, it's kind of this naughty look. Ooh. So I am not sure if I want this kind of mouth or the one that we had before, like this kind of mouth. I like that one, but I feel like it's too repetitive with this one. And this is not really bringing it home for me. I feel I think the mouth needs to go way more, to be shaped more like this. It's too wide open, maybe. Still trying to find the right mouth. I feel it has to hang down somewhere where it's dripping. Jack says it should look more like a smile. I would like to have this like very dumb expression on him, on his face, where everything is basically just. But I feel like I would have to redraw the whole head as everything is more sinking down. Now we still have this stretched out head, but at the moment where it should come down. And I'm pretty sure on Monday you're gonna see some improvement on that one. The eyebrows are still, yeah, Jack, you're right. The eyebrows should be way down. Let's get rid of it. Maybe arc them the other way. No, he looks too sad this way. No. Maybe because they are too low. Okay, that is definitely one thing I would like to work on for the next stream. I'm looking at the watch and it's 4:30, which means let's say I'm done for today, the stream. Let's look again for what we have so far. Well, we get there, right? It's a process. But for all of you who haven't seen where we actually started see as well like a progress. Well, we're progressing here. Check out with what we came up at the very beginning. Now, tell me that this doesn't suck. All right, so we finished the stream on Monday. I think it was the Monday stream. We had that, and now we have this one. So maybe as well like a good example on when you start off, try to push it further and further. Don't. I think if you do frame by frame animation, you definitely shouldn't be trying to avoid work, extra work, because that's basically what frame by frame animation is. So sometimes it's it depends how motivated you are. I was very excited about this even this very first result, but I felt it sucked, and I felt like, well, we could push it. There's some potential here, and so try to push it a little bit further every time. Oh, Kikelovs too, you're in Texas. Wow. And you have crazy winter weather? Well, I think a lot of parts of the world have crazy winter, right? Oh, Mohammed says it doesn't really suck. Oh, thank you so much. They're very kind. And well, it depends how you see it. Like compared to that, yes, it sucked, but it was fun actually to do it. So thanks a lot for that. Thanks for the following, Kikelovs. Very awesome. And having that said, it really helps me out if you subscribe or hit on YouTube the little bell, put a comment, and everything that helps to improve the stream as well. Send me critique, constructive critique, what you like, what you don't like, what you would like to see. Very open and flexible on the whole stream format, and my goal is just to get in dialogue with you guys and actually try new things out that I haven't done, that you haven't done. So let me try whatever you wanted to try, and we can help each other out together and learn KRITA together and improve our frame by frame animation skills. So thanks so much for this stream. It was really fun. A lot of interaction here. I love that. And I hope to see you again on Monday. We're gonna stream as well on 2 p.m. Central European time. And I'm doing my best to improve what we just saw, so we can continue doing this animation or already clean up. I don't know what time I can find to improve what you just see. So again, thanks a lot, and have a great weekend, have a great Friday. Take care, be safe, and see you on Monday. I'm out. Thanks a lot. Okay, I'm back again. I just wanted... I prepared something for people that just subscribed, and here it is. So this goes to Kikelovs too. Thanks a lot for subscribing. This guy only dances for you. If you subscribe, he's gonna dance for you. Okay, have a good one. Bye bye.